Hello.
Well, let's try this again. Enemy, I don't know why you don't want us to talk about people's worth. Hey there, we're back. We're going to try this again. That's never happened before. We're going to wait and see if we can get everybody back in here. All right. I don't know why the enemy playing with me. Hey, Shakiria. We're going to try this again. That's never happened.
No, it's a connection thing.
Hey there, Mom. Now, what's wrong with the connection? My internet is fine. I don't know what you talking about. My connection. Hey there. I don't know what happened. We never had that happen before. Nigel said it's my connection. It is not my connection. The enemy don't want us to be great. That's what it is. That's what it is. All right. So while we're waiting on a couple people to come back in, I'll read the definition again for what our worth is, because Mama was not in here. So the definition for your worth, it refers to the inherent value and significance of something or someone, independent or external factor or opinions. So it's talking about the value of you. Your worth is the value of you. Mm-hmm. And it's something that we need to remember, remind ourselves every day. Mm-hmm. Every day when you wake up, you need to do something. You need to have some type of affirmation. You need to have some type of affirmations. You need to quote some type of scripture that reminds you how valuable that you are to God. Because if you are that valuable and that significant to God, no one walking this earth who breathes and bleeds the way we do should make you feel any less than what God says that you are. He's the creator. So he knows better than any of us know. And so that gives me a reason to be like super confident. It puts my confidence on swole.
Oh, swole.
It gives me the confidence that I need to keep it moving. And so as women, what I'm seeing in my coaching sessions and in my women's groups, that we are not tapping into our value. We're not tapping into our worth. And it's almost become unattractive to be confident. It's one thing to be conceited, but it's another thing to be confident and to walk in your confidence. And a lot of times we believe the foolishness that people spew out because of their unhappiness and their place of hurt. We subconsciously take those things and we believe them and we deal with them on a regular basis. So today we're going to stop dealing with hurting people. That's what we're going to do. We're going to walk in our greatness and we're going to understand what our worth actually is. And so there are no better affirmations than scripture, because what God says goes. That's just how I see it. So Psalms 139, 13 through 14 says, For you created my inmost being. You knit me together in my mother's womb. I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Your works are wonderful, and I know full well. It says, I know full well. Do you know full well?
Well,
Go ahead.
Well, it's like, like without a doubt. That's what it sounds like to me.
You know full well, like you can't convince me no other way that I am not fearfully and wonderfully made. And so, just that scripture alone, you use that as an affirmation. We can get up and say a whole bunch of things. I can get up and say that I'm great. And that's a great affirmation to say and remind yourself every day. That's what you are. Hey, Dewana, thanks for rejoining us. I don't know what happened. But that's a great affirmation to say to yourself. At the same time, however, there's no better affirmation than scripture, than knowing exactly who you are in Christ. And the reason why that I say to repeat it on a daily basis, because is because on a daily basis, we can be bogged down with the opinions and thoughts of other people.
Yeah.
And in this day and age, I don't care how old you are, people are on social media and they are believing the foolishness of what goes on nowadays. You cannot, you not get ready to tell me that my worth is invaluable. You just not gonna do it. I don't care what you know or what you think you know. I don't care if you know and I don't. That still does not make my worth any less valuable than yours. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times people will try to pick out things about you that are not maybe for what they think is up to par so that they can make themselves look better. And so with that, we're not going to accept that.
Yeah.
You know, so do you find that that is something just like in watching reality TV and things like that, that most young women nowadays, do you feel like they don't know their worth?
I definitely feel like it's something that my generation can struggle with, especially with social media being a big factor in our society now. Because you got so many different ladies saying, "Oh, you should be like this," and if your man don't do this, and that mean he don't like you that much, or if you're not on this level, then what are you doing? And there's so many different factors, you know, and there's so many different directions that I can see how it could make somebody feel like, well, you know, I must not be popping like that because, you know, they're my age, whatever, and they're able to buy this car or buy that house, whatever, and I'm struggling to get by, or, you know, she looks this way or whatever, and I look this way, and you know, I feel like there's so many different factors now that can deter someone from actually seeking their self-worth and their self-value.
Do you think that your upbringing plays a part in it?
Oh, most definitely. You know, it makes a difference if you've had family or an environment that poured into you. I'm not saying that, you know, you won't struggle with it because, you know, we're all human, but it does help knowing that you come from a foundation where, you know, you're supported and, like I said, poured into.
You know, what I find amazing is that even women, it's frozen. What is wrong with the Wi-Fi? Maybe it is the Wi-Fi, huh? Oh, it's working good, and we got plenty of... Is it frozen for anybody else? Can you guys hear? We have never had a problem until we got a real good topic. Guys, let me know if it's frozen for you, and if you can hear well. But it must be frozen because nobody said. Okay, Genesis says she can hear. Maybe
Nana.
Yeah, Nana. Maybe it's your Wi-Fi that's acting up. But anyway, I find it really funny how even women who are not so young that are my age struggle with knowing what their worth is. And a lot of times I think it's coming and starting from how relationships go nowadays. Well, first of all, as women, it's not frozen. I can hear you guys. Okay, good. First of all, as women, you always hear a lot of women say, "Hey, I don't fool with women."
Yeah.
Because they're really catty. I hate that. I just want to put that on record. I hate that. Because when the rubber meets the road, we're all women. You know, my daughter's a woman, my mother's a woman, you know, and so to say, "Hey, I don't deal with women or whatever," that's a you problem or a me problem, because I need to figure out why that I attract people who don't have integrity, or, you know, who don't value themselves. Because a lot of times when you have problems in relationships like that, most people don't value themselves. And so what is it that allows me to attract women who don't value themselves? And as a woman who doesn't value herself, as a friend, what can I do to let my friend know that she is valuable? And so for me, in all of my old experience, where women are concerned. I didn't learn until I got to be a good and grown woman that you really have to understand that people are not perfect, and you have to be long suffering in friendships. You have to give grace because that's what you're asking God for. And you have to pour into, hey cousin, you have to pour into that young lady.
Yeah.
To me, when I see a young lady or a young woman who I can see does not know her worth, I make it my business to pour into her any way that I possibly can. Because I think it's really sad that we are afforded all of these things. The earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof, which means he's over everything.
Yeah.
And if we believe him, we need to make sure that our lives line up with what it is that we say that we believe. A lot of people say, hey, I love God, I believe God. But like I said the other week, your life is over here and the word is over here. They need to commingle, coexist. Yes, that part, girl. Yeah, they need to coexist, and you need to understand, hey there, you need to understand that what God is saying about you is true. And so if you're saying, hey, I believe God, but you're not allowing what he's saying to get into your spirit or into your subconscious, you can't walk in confidence on a daily basis. Yeah. Now, I'm not saying that we don't have bad days. I wake up sometimes and I really have to work hard, and I really have to get my affirmations out and tell myself, hey, you can do this or whatever some days. But it shouldn't be Shauna Graham, hey girl. It shouldn't be days and days and days that happens. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying things like depression is not real, but a lot of times when you deal with depression, it's things that you regret from the past. And you can't change the past. The past is never going to be different. So don't worry about it. Just believe what God says in you and keep it moving and move forward and do your very best going forward. I think what helps me sometimes is I might be fearful of something, but I will do it even though I'm scared.
I feel that.
And to do it even though I'm scared, it lets me know that there is really a God. Yeah. Because if I'm scared, it's really hard for me to even have a vision of what it is. I can have a vision, but I'll be like, oh Lord, I might be able to do some of it, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to do all of it. But, when you do things when you're scared, God is able to show up. He's able to put his super on your natural, and you're able to walk in confidence. And if you pep talk yourself on a regular basis, because I don't think we realize that a lot of times we're subconsciously talking to ourselves about what we're not. Yeah. It's almost easy. It seems like it's almost easier for people to realize what they're not than to realize what they are. And so we need to change those things and talk to each other and talk to ourselves and let us know who and what we are. So Jeremiah 1:5 says, before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart. I appointed you as a prophet to the nations. So what that's really saying is, when he formed you in the womb, it's talking about your self-worth. It says this verse reassures individuals that they are valued and significant from the very beginning of their existence. You can help combat feelings of worthlessness or insignificance, reinforcing the idea that everyone is uniquely known and loved by God. So my thing is, everything that I do, everything that I approach, sometimes you can walk in a room and a person can look at you and say, I don't like her. I can't stand when people say something in my spirit says something ain't right about her. Well, what did he say in your spirit then? Don't be talking about no something. What did he say? Tell me what God said, because that's your spirit and you coming up with that. Yeah. But you have to overcome that. You have to keep it moving. You have to walk into a room like you own that room, because you do. Yeah. You are fearfully and wonderfully made. And if we think about things as to when we enter the room or when we enter somewhere, is the word sacred?
Scared.
Oh, scared in the dictionary. I don't know what you mean, AD. What you saying? If we walk into a room and we command the room, you have to tell yourself that. When I'm selling real estate, it's a lot of times I walk in those rooms because real estate has always been a male dominating industry. Yeah. Thank you for giving me my words today. And so a lot of times they won't respect you at first until you open your mouth and you start talking. And you have to let people know, hey, we're on the same. Hey there. You have to let people know that we're on the same page. You know what I mean? And so you do things even though you're scared. Like he said, even though you're scared, you do it anyway. And God shows you he'll put his super on your natural. It says, understanding that one's life is a divinely ordained purpose can provide direction and motivation. It encourages people to live intentionally, seeking to fulfill roles and responsibilities that align with their unique gifts and callings. So that's another thing that allows you to have confidence. Seeking what your purpose and your calling is. A lot of people do not spend time doing that. But once you figure out what your purpose and your calling is, that's what God said you are. Yeah. People can't take that away from you. And so in God saying, hey, this is your purpose or this is what I've called you for, can't nobody disqualify you from that. They can talk all day long. They can say whatever they want, but they cannot disqualify you from being an attorney. Oh. They can't. I mean, that's just who you are. You know what I mean? I mean, do you agree?
Yeah.
Well, you ain't talking a lot. She's sleepy again, y'all. Wake up, Naja.
No, I'm about to say I'm listening. Mostly I'm taking in what you're saying.
Do you feel like that you are a confident young lady?
For the most part, yeah. I feel like I've always came across that way. Some might think conceited, might be a little bit. But
my baby.
Oh yeah, you see me?
Well, maybe a little bit conceited.
But I think for the most part, like, I try to be. I'm a very shy individual, and I do think a lot. So sometimes I get in my own head. But for the most part, I like to think of myself as confident. You know, even if I'm not, I try to fake it till I make it. Because imposter syndrome is something.
So speak to us about imposter syndrome.
So imposter syndrome is basically, you know, in the most basic way to say it is like that feeling of, you know, you can't do it even though you might be more than qualified, or it might be something you started for the first time, but it's that feeling of you can't do it when in reality you have everything that you need to do it. And not even just, and you might not have the resources or whatever, but you have the mindset to do it. You know, you might not have the experience, but you have the qualifications to do it. And so imposter syndrome, I deal with that a lot, especially if I'm doing something for the first time.
So you do it scared?
Yeah. And so I had a friend in college. You know, he kind of put it into perspective for me, which makes me like, if I ever get scared to do something, I think about it. But he was just like, you know, if I get really scared to do something, I just do something extremely bold to combat it. And I was like, oh, you know, because if you do something bold, you got to do it. Like, you know,
you got to own it.
Yeah. And so there's nothing but to do than own it. And so for the most part, I like to consider myself somebody who's like confident.
So when we're speaking about our girlfriends, how important is their opinion of you?
I'm not gonna lie, for me, my friend's opinion of me is very important. Just for the fact of like, I don't have sisters. And so yeah,
me either.
Let's do that.
Ask your Nana. I don't know why.
But yeah, I don't have sisters, and so I see all of my friends as my sisters, and so their opinion of me is very crucial to me. Because it's just like, you know, these are the people that I pour myself into.
Hey, Sherry.
All the time. And, you know, I spend a lot of time with them, whatever. I've been vulnerable in front of my friends, whatever, which is something that's hard for me to do, just period.
To be vulnerable?
Yeah. And so, you know, I definitely, yeah, I care about what their opinion.
So let me ask you, do you allow your friends to be brutally honest with you? You know, some people like to have yes men. And I don't like that. I don't think that you're my friend. If you don't tell me the truth, if I'm somewhere doing the fool, don't let me do the fool. Don't say, girl, I'm with you. Don't, if I call you up talking about let's ride, we in the bushes, go to bed.
Yeah.
Don't do that. I don't want friends that don't tell me when I'm not on the right track.
Yeah.
Now, how important is it? I believe that it is super important to understand your circle. And I hate the fact that I didn't learn until a very late age about understanding my circle. I told you, everybody's my friend until they show me that they're not. And a lot of times when they show you that they're not your friends, then that's hurtful for you.
Yeah.
That takes a piece out of you. Hey, Raquel.
Hello, Raquel.
And so, have you really made it your life's mission to make sure that your circle is the right circle, or do you have that same syndrome where everybody's your friend until they show you they're not?
No, I'm about to say, now that I'm older, I feel like I use a lot more discernment than what I used to. Just from the experiences that I've had in the past with women. Definitely, I'm always open to new friendships. I'm not the type of person where I'm like, no new friends. But I am definitely I have a lot more boundaries where it comes to meeting people in general, where you start off as an associate and over time, you start to promote, from associate to, I don't know what's another, but it's not, you don't automatically go to friend. I have different circles.
Hey there.
I have different circles now, so I have like a big circle for friends, whatever, but then I also have that smaller circle for like close friends. And so you don't automatically get to come to my close friends anymore, or whatever, because just from, like I said, my past experiences of being hurt in the past, and a lot of people, a lot of people always talks about the pain that you feel from romantic breakups, but no one never has really told me about like friendship breakups and how that is devastating.
It is.
And
especially when you've been a true friend to the person.
So definitely, definitely, I would say I have a lot more discernment now.
I lost my train of thought that quick. As far as you pouring into your circle, hey cousin. As far as you pouring into your circle, do you have a limit or a boundary as to where you go? Or like for me, when I know that someone is my true friend and they are going through something, I'm with them no matter what.
Yeah.
If they ask me my opinion, I'm going to give my opinion. But whether they use my opinion or not, I still love them. I still am going to say, hey, just because you didn't use my advice or whatever, I'm not going to put you down as a friend. Are you like that? Or do you have certain limits that you say, hey, you keep talking about the same thing, girl, and we not going to do that?
I'll say I have limits. For the most part, like, I'm all in. I'm very much an empath. And so, the problem I have, I sometimes embody people's situations. And so, for the most part, like, I'll listen to you, because I'm a listener. I'll listen to you, whatever, if you need a vent, whatever. If you want some advice, I'll give my advice.
Hey, Sharita.
But at the same time, because I'll always be there, like I said, I'll always be there. You can pour into me whenever. If I have the time, I'm going to sit there, I'm going to listen. But there are certain limitations that I have on certain subjects, if that makes sense. And so,
hey, Gabby.
And so, yes, for certain subjects, because one thing that I don't necessarily like, I know we're certain situations or whatever, they're very touchy and they're very sometimes hard to get over, but I do not necessarily like the repeat offender victim. Repeat offender victim. Because like I said, if you're talking about something and you're talking about how it made you feel and everything, that's different. And I'll listen to you in terms of that, in that aspect of how it made you feel and how you're processing it and getting through it, 100%. But if you come to me and you're like, oh, this happened to me, da 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 da, and I give you advice or I listen.
But I think that then it speaks to her worth. It speaks to that person's self-worth when there is a repeat offender syndrome. You know, when you're talking about the same, we're talking about guys, right?
I mean, guys, or like any situation where there's a problem, you've established a problem, or you've vented to me about the problem, whatever. And like I said, I know situations can tend to linger. Have no problem with that. But the same victim, like if you're victim mentality of where we're always back at step one.
Yeah. They talking about me and they.
Yeah.
Yeah. I saw your patience was like. And I get that, because when you know what your worth is, you do have long suffering, I believe. Now, I will have long suffering, and my suffering is really, really long. And, and that is one of the fruits of the Spirit. We should possess long suffering where people are concerned, because we have to understand that not everybody grows at the same pace that we grow. And so you have to give, especially if they're your true friends, you have to give them grace, and you have to give them room to grow. And I will say that I do that. But at the same time, I still ask myself, if it's something that happens on a regular basis, I have to take self-inventory. Is it me?
Yeah.
Am I doing that? And so sometimes that can play into your self-worth as well, too, because we're not honest with ourselves about things that we do. We will give people down the road or whatever, and when it comes to us, it's we need all the grace and mercy. We be quoting scripture, grace and mercy will follow us all the days of our lives or whatever. But when it comes to somebody else, we done put them on the cross and crucified them 5 times. And so that speaks to your self-worth as well.
Yeah.
Because you have to understand, in knowing your self-worth, in order to balance that out and make sure that we're not going way somewhere else, thinking that we are worth way more than we are, because the Bible talks about that as well. We also need to take self-inventory of the things that we do in order to keep our self-worth in a realistic situation, in a realistic place, so that we're not annoying. Because you can then become annoying when you're saying, hey, I know my self-worth, and I this, and girls, sit down, have several seats. So when we're talking about the scriptures that we talked about before, well, we got one more that was in the Old Testament, and it says, since you are precious and honored in my sight, and because I love you, I will give people in exchange for you, nations in exchange for your life. And so for me, I was like, okay, wait a minute, hold on. I need to know specifically what that means, because I don't necessarily understand what that means. So when I looked it up, it says, I will give people in exchange for you, nations in exchange for your life, reflects the length to which God is willing to go to protect and redeem his people. This can be interpreted as God's readiness to make significant sacrifices for the sake of those he loves, underscoring their immense value to him. So, with that being said, if God is saying all this, if God is saying all of this about how valuable that you are, how do you then allow people who breathe and bleed to say something, and you immediately take it in, accept it, and wear it like that's really what it is?
Because if let me get my thoughts together. So with that, it comes into the concept of what's his name, Maslow's hierarchy needs. And when you look at the hierarchy of those needs, I think like socialization is like third. And
those are the things that we need.
And so it's just like, within socialization, we want, one thing that I tell people a lot is people want to feel loved. That's one thing that everybody cannot deny. Everybody wants to feel loved.
They will almost do anything to get it.
And so that's the reason why.
Hey, Tracy.
That's the reason why, people, us as people, allow other people to dictate sometimes who we are. Especially, like I said, if you don't have that circle, that environment that is constantly pouring into you, or if you don't have the mindset to keep telling yourself, this is who I am, you're going to seek out that validation. And so that's why that happens.
So I think it goes back to truly protecting your circle, your inner circle, the people that you spend the most time with. Because if you're
well, even before that, it's about your mindset. Because if you have the proper mindset, you'll find like-minded people. You know,
that's really good. You're so wise.
I mean, I want to touch my computer.
Oh, girl, hush.
Anyways, but no, but I say, but it's also it's about starting with yourself before you start to look at other people. Because if you're hurt, you're gonna hurt other people. Even if you do find people who are good for you, your actions are going to burn those relationships, and you're going to just end up at square one again. And you're just going to constantly think that, see, this is why I don't mess with other people like that. This is why I don't trust people. When in reality, it's because you haven't fixed your mindset. You haven't fixed within what's truly
what you think
wrong
about yourself.
Yeah, and I feel like, I was having this conversation with Monty yesterday. A lot of things that people struggle with in their adulthood deals with what they went through in their childhood, and a lot of people don't realize that you have to heal that inner child. When you grow up, your inner child does not go away.
That part.
And so, you still have to cater to that part of you because, like I said, it's not gone. Yes, we grow up. Yes, we mature and everything or whatever. But that part is still something that is a big part of us.
And I think that, just as we evolve in different generations, your generation is really good for authenticity. You guys require authenticity or you're out, period. Whereas my generation on back, we dealt with things by not talking about them. It's almost like we thought in our minds, if we don't say nothing else about it, then it's not real. It didn't happen. And we're done with it and we've healed from it. And so we've got all these people that walk around that are not healed, that have been unhealed for years because we're not, your parents will tell you, be quiet. What goes on in this house stays in this house. Well, listen, I'm traumatized here because I was abused or whatever's going on here. And I need to have a conversation with somebody. And they kind of viewed it as betrayal if you went outside of the house and talked about it, whereas it's not betrayal. Hey, I'm in pain here. I'm in pain and I'm trying to heal, and you don't want me to heal because you want me to be quiet. So do you feel like it's something that it needs to be talked about?
Oh yeah, most definitely. Like when it comes to mental health, I feel like, especially in the Black community, because we are a community where, you're not supposed to talk too much or whatever. You're supposed to keep it inside, keep it pushing. Eventually it's going to get better. But what if it doesn't get better?
That part.
I have saw this one TikTok, with men as a joke, but it was kind of like a laughing but kind of serious type of thing. There's this guy, he was just like, the Black community is so unserious when it comes to mental health. He was just like, I had told my dad that I'm hearing voices, and he was just like, well, tell the voices the bills are due. Well, why would you say that? And his dad kept it pushing, so it's kind of like, and he's just...
So how was his dad? His dad was my age. My generation.
When am I supposed to do that? Talking about some, well, tell the voices the bills. I'm telling you, I'm hearing voices.
You ain't spoke to none of
that. Yeah, and so... It's just kind of things like that. Or like, when I used to tell you, like back in the day when I used to be like, Mom, I think I'm depressed. And you used to be like, girl, you're not depressed. You're just depressed. I'm just doing what I know. I'm sorry. And I'd be like, okay.
Hey, Shantae.
And I used to just be like, okay, yeah. I guess I'm not.
I'm acting like it's not fair.
And so, but it's, mental health is something that everybody goes through. Black women, black men,
I'm so
black
glad
children.
I'm so sorry.
I had to go outside. I had to find somebody outside the house to talk to. But
I'm so sorry.
But that's just how it is. So I feel like mental health is something especially that really just needs to be talked about more, because a lot of people don't know where to start. And so I don't know, it can...
I think if you're scared to start by talking to somebody, you need to admit to yourself that this is what it is. We know subconsciously what it is.
Yeah.
We can act like all day long that we don't know, but we know subconsciously what it is. And I think the very, very first step is to admit, hey, I got some things going on. I got some issues here. And even if you sit with yourself, I just started identifying my whys and the things that I do. And you see a lot of people that don't have the stillness in their life, if that makes sense. Some people just go and go and go and go and go, and they go because they don't want to sit still with themselves.
Yeah.
And when you don't sit still with yourself, you're not able to identify the things that are not going right in your life and the things that are going very right in your life. Or you magnify the things that are going right in your life so that you don't have to deal with what goes wrong in your life. And so I believe that everybody needs to have a stillness about themselves on a daily basis. Because when you have a stillness about yourself, my stillness is early in the morning. You know, I wake up early in the morning. And I'm able to listen and talk to God, and for the most part, for me, listen, because I'm a talker, and even to God, I'm telling God everything. I'm just talking, and then I'm thinking, okay, I prayed about it, and I ain't heard God tell me nothing yet. Well, I ain't listening.
Yeah.
So I needed some stillness, some still time, in order for God to be able to download to me the things that I needed to improve on, that I needed to take care of, and that I needed to allow him to come in and let me know, hey, this is what you need to get rid of, and this is what you're good at. And I say you're good at it, so it doesn't matter what other people think. If I say you're good at it, then you are. And that's where, I had to start. Now, do I think that talking to somebody is amazing? It is amazing to have somebody else's opinion, godly counsel, like the Bible says, whether you're talking to somebody who you really trust as a friend, hey Katrina, or you're talking to a professional. But I do agree that everybody should talk to a professional at some time or another.
Yeah, I do too.
Because it's just much needed. You need somebody who's not biased.
Yeah.
Somebody who doesn't know you at all, who can listen to what you're saying and say, hey, that's not good, but that, you need to keep that.
Yeah.
So, but we always need to start with God, and it's faith and trust. The verse that we were talking about, it says the verse encourages trust in God's plan, knowing that there is a purpose set out by God for each person to help the individual trust in his guidance and provision, especially during times of uncertainty and doubt. And so I know for me, there's something that I have been believing God for or whatever. And then there have been things that God is like, hold on, it's not time yet. It's not time yet. I'm like, dang, are you saying, just say no.
Yeah.
Just say no so I can move on.
Yeah.
To that. And even, seriously, I'll be sitting there talking to God like, now God, if this ain't for me, then show me that it's not for me so that I can move on. And he'll show me something that says to continue to pray. Trust in him and have faith and all that. And so all of that has a lot to do with adding to who you are, to your worth as a person. When you start to trust God and your levels start getting higher and higher, it does download a certain confidence to you that I can say to myself, I trust in God, so I don't have to do it. So if I'm trusting in him and I'm giving it to him, like I tell you all the time about casting your cares, when you learn that, it took me years to learn to cast my cares, because I would cast my cares and I would go right back and get them. And I will try to do it. But if I come back and get it, then that means it's my responsibility to take care of it. But when I give it to God, it's his responsibility. So giving things to God gives you a certain confidence, and it shows you what your worth is. It's showing you what your, that God will do things for you.
Yeah.
And that's why I always keep like a prayer book or something where I can write things down that I'm praying for, and I can check them off and say, hey, I prayed for that. And that, showed up. God manifested that prayer in my life, which shows you, hey, Tiffany, which shows you the power of God and how much that he loves us, which shows us our value and our worth. So we talked about our worth and how that plays into our friends, our circles, and things like that. So let's talk about your worth when it comes to the opposite sex. When it comes to your boyfriend or your husband or your fiance or whoever it is. As a young woman, when you think of your significant other, whom I pray for on a regular basis,
Oh, I appreciate it.
when you think about your the guy who you're gonna spend your life with, in order for him to be a supporter of you, what does he need to do? How does he need to pour into you? Have you ever thought about that before?
Yeah. And so for one of the number one ways that I think of like my life partner supporting me is, it's more mental for me. Like, you know, because number one, I'm dramatic.
Hey, Patrice.
Patricia,
I'm sorry.
number one, I'm dramatic. And so.
You are.
Anyways, number one, I'm dramatic. And so, you know, when I go through certain situations, and then I'm also a talker. So, you know, if it's a small inconvenience or whatever, I'm going to complain. Mm-hmm. And so it's just kind of like, let me complain for a little bit. Mm-hmm. And then you could be like, okay, so what we going to do now? Cause
our audience ain't talking at all. Y'all usually be talking 90 miles a minute. Y'all ain't talking today.
Everybody's probably tired.
Okay, sorry.
I'm tired. Mm-hmm. But no, I'm gonna say, you know, it's kind of like help me sort out my thoughts. Mm-hmm. Just listen to me for a second. I'm dramatic. I'm gonna complain. I'm gonna go this way, that way. Just kind of help me listen, kind of like pick out, because you don't gotta, you know, listen to every little thing. But you know, kind of sift out the facts or what I'm saying or whatever, and then kind of after I like go through my little rant, just kind of like, okay, what now? Mm-hmm. You know.
So you want him to be a problem solver. So how does that? How does that? We're listening to this good stuff. How does that add to you? Because for me, and I don't know, I hate to always make everything about age, but for me, he needs to be a man of God. He needs to know and understand God. And sometimes I feel bad about that.
Why?
Because sometimes you run into people who might not know, you know, God the way you do. Mm-hmm. As long as he loves him, is that enough?
For my age, yeah. Because it's my, you know, when I think about my relationship with God, is it perfect? Mm-hmm. No. When I think of my own relationship, I feel like I've like slid a little bit, and it's something that I feel like I need to like. I'm currently trying to work on myself, and so I can't like. Would it be nice to have like somebody whose relationship with God is up here? Yes. But is it a requirement? No, because I feel like if it's a requirement, you have to be on that level as well.
So what do you guys think? Hey, brother, what do you guys think? I think that it depends on where you are in life and what your age is, you know, just like you said. I think for me right now, I want to be in a place where I can pour into someone and be a help to their self-worth and to reassure them, not that that's really my job, but I want to be that. I have a friend that puts her grown kids before her husband. How can I speak to her about this and just hit it, Naja? and just be a friend to her and to listen. Well, you go to the word. You go back to the word, because God clearly shows us that your husband comes before anything, because when you marry your husband, you guys are one. You know what I mean? Your kids come after you guys have become one. And when those kids, hey, Vonnie, when those kids leave, it's going to be you and him. And so I always talk to my friends. I tell them all the time, you can learn a lot from a stunt dummy. I've been married a long time, and we've gone through a lot of stuff. It's hard to be in a marriage when you are not equally yoked. It can be. Let me speak to Shantae first. Go to the word, and I'll send you the exact scripture on it where it talks about you guys are when you're married, you're one, and so those kids come after your husband. You put your husband first. Now, of course, there are going to be times that the kids got something going on. Somebody broke their arm or whatever, and you got to attend to those kids. But when the rubber meets the road, he is the one that you have become one with, and he is the one that comes first. And that is Bible. That's not the book of Nichelle the Boss. That's Bible. Awesome. I was taught that very young. Yeah, you need to understand when you have a husband, whether he's a great husband or he's working at it, he is still number one. What was that other?
It's hard to be in a marriage if you're not equally
yoked. If you're not equally yoked. It is very hard to be in a marriage when you're not equally yoked. And I was having this conversation with my mother the other day, and I love you, and I'm going to be brutally honest. Most of us women, when we get in marriages, we ignore red flags before we get married. We knew that there was an issue before we married him, but we married him anyway, thinking that he was going to change. Now, with prayer and his willingness, he will change. But the Bible says a woman can win her unsaved husband, and she doesn't even have to use the word. It's about how you present yourself to him, how you treat him, how you're long suffering, how you're patient, all the fruits of the spirit. And I know it sounds like that we're dumbing ourselves down, and that's because today's society, they really hype up pride. They don't say it's pride, but they hype up pride. And when I say they hype up pride, it's like, girl, I wouldn't be letting him do that. I wouldn't be letting him talk to me like that or whatever. But you made a covenant before God with this person to have the fruits of the spirit. It says love is patient, love is kind, and it tells us how many times to forgive people. And so when it comes to your husband, and this is just what I say, and what I say is not law. It just depends on how long you want to stay married. And we're going into some other stuff, but this is my area. It depends on how long you want to stay married. Some of the things that I have dealt with is because what God's word says is love is patient, love is kind, is forgiving. And we have to think about our bloodline. We have to think about our kids, the kids that have come out of those union. A lot of people will say, well, I got to be happy. Nobody said, it says nowhere in the Bible that you have to be happy. And it doesn't even say that you have to be happy all the time. Anytime that you get with another person who is human, who has faults and things like that, you're going to go through some things. And anything worth having is worth fighting for. And so, just for me, my personal opinion, for my bloodline, for my kids, if I have to go through the valley, you can best believe if you put Nichelle Smith in the valley, she gonna come out on the other side. Now, I might be crawling, I don't know, but I know I'm gonna make it out on the other side. And I'm gonna do that because of my bloodline. I want my kids and my grandkids and my granddaughters to have good husbands. And so with that, I need to shut whatever that negative stuff is in my bloodline. I need to shut it down. And because I don't know everything and I'm praying my way through, I'm going to have some stumbles and I'm going to have some heartaches and I'm going to have some times where I really don't feel good. But that's where we all come in as sisters. So we're not talking about, I don't do women. Instead of doing that, we need to be coming together and praying and helping each other and praying each other through. Because when I put that stuff on Facebook talking about the black family, I truly mean it. I'm telling you, we are becoming extinct because we are believing the hype. We believe in the foolishness that the world is talking about, and that's clearly not the way God designed it to be. And so for the young people like my daughter, know your self-worth before you get into a marriage, before you say to yourself, oh, he's so cute, and picking somebody that's cute is very important. However, is cute longevity? Because cute is going to fade.
Yeah.
You need to make sure that he truly has a love for God. Not that he was brought up going to church and he knows that's what he's supposed to do. He needs to have some type of love for God. Because if a man loves God, he will love you. If a man does not love God, and if he doesn't know how to love, he don't know how to love you. And just because you feel like that you are a woman that can show him how to love, he's got to be willing to be teachable, to learn. And he might not be willing to be teachable. And so for my situation, I knew some things when I got married. But in my mind, God is going to bless this union and he's going to, smooth those things out and make the crooked way straight. And he is. It just didn't say when that he was going to do it, because people have to be willing. We are free will agents. God is not going to make us do anything. Now, can he put obstacles in our path to make us go down the right street and eventually go? Absolutely. But he will give us grace and mercy when we feel like we don't want to surrender. And a lot of men nowadays don't want to surrender. Hey, Randall, a lot of men nowadays they don't want to surrender. They want to do their own thing. And so because they don't, then you will have those problems. But, you know, I've heard a lot of women say lately, we're just not equally yoked. So just for me, this is just me. In the Bible, it doesn't say now you can get a divorce, because there's specific things that call for divorce in the Bible once you've created a covenant. And so because it doesn't say that, you got to take it to God. You got to be diligent, and you got to speak those things, and you got to act those things out. Even in your head, you don't feel like, oh, he gets on my last nerve in your head. But you got to work on your thoughts. And you got to bring those things out of him that maybe he doesn't even know that are in him, in order to make that marriage great. And you just got to keep it moving. And that's just my take on it. But I do feel like that when you marry for reasons that are not valid, it makes it harder for you. Your worth can be diminished. You know, and you really have to work on who you are. That means you settle for things that ordinarily you wouldn't settle for. If your girlfriend slapped you upside the head, you ain't gonna say, you know what, she didn't mean it, she was having a bad day. You gonna beat her up and keep it moving. Keep it moving. But, you know, there are some women that say, oh, well, you know, but that's a self-worth situation. And you need to love yourself enough to say, hey, especially, you know, to me, my hat is off to single women. You single women got it going on. I don't care what nobody say. Do they still say got it going on? Whatever they say. They clutch. They whatever. I don't know. Whatever they say. But my thing is, if single women would have some still time and really think about where they are in their position in life, baby. When I say y'all really got it in a place where y'all really could be free. But because we have been taught, oh, I met somebody, he's cute, I think I'm gonna settle down. I ain't settling down with him. I'm gonna go out to dinner with him, and I might go to a movie with him, but I don't know that he's the one yet. And so it's nothing wrong with dating more than one guy, as long as you're not sleeping with the folks. And so that's where we mess up. We go right to, oh, he's gonna be my boyfriend, and I'm gonna have his last name. No, girl, you just met him. You know, he could be crazy. You know, but you trying to fit him into your family and take him to the family reunion. I just met him a month ago. You ain't coming to the family reunion. No. You can't come to the family reunion because I don't even know if I like you like that. But we don't know how to date. We don't understand that. You know, you're seeking to find a person that fits with you. And there's nothing wrong with, thank you guys for the stars. There's nothing wrong with having a list of things that you require as a woman. And if he don't have them, then he's not it. But what happens is we go straight to the touchy-feely stuff. And then we get, you know, with the scriptures. You better put them scriptures on there. Ephesians 5:22-33, and it tells you all about it, where marriage and stuff is concerned. Hey, Carol, but we go too fast, you know, and that takes away our self-worth as well. Because the thing about it is, if you are fearfully and wonderfully made by God, why would you give away something to somebody who hasn't even shown you what it says about a husband? It says a husband is to sacrifice, and he is to give his life up for his wife. And in couples care, I always ask the couples, sir, are you willing to give your life up for your wife? And most of the husbands always look like, wait, I didn't sign up for that. You know, but you really did sign up for it. And when he's talking about giving your life for your wife, he doesn't mean, you know, are you going to stand in front of a bullet, even though you should if, you know, something happens. But sometimes you have to sacrifice in marriage in order for that person to be happy. I always say it's not my responsibility to worry about how somebody treats me. It's my responsibility to worry about how I treat that person. Because if I treat that person right, God is definitely going to make sure I got what I need. I promise that on everything I love. He's always done it for me. And so with that being said, if you are in a marriage that's not how you want it to be, live your life. But we are so controlled, like Nisha said, you know, everybody wants to be loved. You know what I mean? And we have taken that feeling and replaced it with love. That's a feeling that we're talking about. This is what we want right here. But love is sacrificial. You know, so I have some women that say, hey, how you doing? I hear some women that say, he's not a good husband. But he goes to work every day and he pays the bills and he makes sure. And I know it's old school. A lot of women will say that don't matter because I can make my own money. And that is right. But if you read what a husband's responsibility is in the Bible, his responsibility is to provide and to protect. Most of the emotional part is really on us as women.
I don't like it.
But see, the world got us all messed up. See, we got this pride going. I got to get her all the way together when we get off this camera. Because, see, I'm praying for this good husband she going to have, and she ain't even going to be ready. I need to be praying for her first. But I'm saying that to say, if you say you love God the way you love God, you get in his word and you understand what God is saying. Because he's the one who created it. He created us. He created marriage. So if you trying to do it the way you want to do it and it ain't working, well, it ain't working because you ain't lying. Even though we know your worth, but you ain't talking about nothing. You got to do it the way God want to do it. I know for me, baby, this mouth can go 25 miles a minute. And when I get in my head that I know something, I think I know something, and you ain't going to tell me no different. I need to be saying, sis, be quiet for a minute. Be slow to speak and slow to anger. That's what you need to do. And a lot of times, a lot of us women need to do that. When you talk about femininity and your worth, that is one of the main things that is on the list for us to do. We're nurturers. You know, and so nothing's wrong with being a boss because, baby, I believe in it. I believe in, you know, having multiple streams of income and having things where you can take care of yourself and you can speak, get your nails done on a regular basis and all of that. However, the softness that we need to continue to have in our femininity is what creates the camaraderie between you and your mate. It is what draws him. Any man who can feel peace from you, I don't care what he does. He's not leaving because it's hard to find the peace that people are looking for at this day and age. And so we got all off our topic, but you know, it is what it is. But my point was, when you pick the right person, it does play into your self-worth. When you pick the wrong person and somebody's treating you bad on a regular basis and they're talking to you bad on a regular basis, like I said, subconsciously you start believing what this person is saying to you and what this person is doing to you, and I deserve that, and you know, I don't like to use the word deserve because sometimes it can be kind of selfish. It can cause you to be selfish indirectly, because when it comes down to it, this was great. When it comes down to it, you don't necessarily, who said you deserve that?
I do.
I mean, speak to it.
I mean, because I feel like, you know, can it be a sense of entitlement? Yeah. But it's like, I feel like with moderation and self-reflection, but there are some things I deserve. And it's just non-negotiable.
It's non-negotiable. So what are your non-negotiables I deserve? It's after 8 o'clock, ain't it? Okay, we ready to get done in a minute.
Oh, you know, one thing, you know, I'll just say I deserve respect.
That part.
Because it's just like, I'm going to give you respect. So off top of whoever it is, whether it's a friend or relationship or...
So I guess that is the truth, because we can use the scripture, you reap what you sow. So if you're not sowing those things, then you should not be reaping them. So then in actuality, then you do deserve. And it's not a place of being selfish or entitled. So we do. And so that's why I said I always got to put the word up against everything so that I can make a
sound decision.
A sound decision, girl. A sound decision. So I really didn't get to all the things that I wanted to get to about our self-worth and understanding our own self-worth. I could keep going, but I like to make sure that we respect people's time. And it's Monday evening and people have husbands and kids and things that they have to do.
I gotta go.
So and she's got a dog that she's got to go take care of. So we'll pick back up on this next week. We're going to talk about your worth and different areas of your worth, maybe for about 4 weeks or so. So yeah, to be continued, so that we can make sure that we get it. I'm sorry to get y'all off. Nope, it was really good, and that's the reason why I like this. I want to be a place where it's a safe space and we can bounce things off of each other, so that we can be better, so that we can show people that, you know, it really is good to have women friendships and relationships, so we don't have people saying, girl, I don't mess with women like that. So seriously, guys, when you guys have a chance, go to NichelleSmith.com and subscribe to my website, so that we can create the groups within there. Because sometimes I'll kind of do some blogs. I'll have random thoughts during the day or whatever. And I just wonder what people think about this. And I'll put those things in there, and you guys will be able to do it as well. Also, my real estate stuff is in there. So if you're looking to buy a house or sell a house, you know somebody who wants to do it, or even get their credit score straightened out, things on there that you can sign up for. And also my online boutique is there. And so usually I try to put new things on there on Fridays. And so go check that out. But let somebody know and share it with somebody, so that we can grow. So thank you guys so much for joining us every week. Share this with another young lady whom you think will benefit from this. And we will go from there. We will see you next week. Love you.